Look up. Somewhere above you, a missile is being designed to split into hundreds of pieces before it reaches its target. One launch, one missile, hundreds of impact points. And the country building it just priced it at $1 million a shot. That is not expensive for a weapon that can turn a single attack into a storm of destruction. That is a bargain. And that is exactly what should scare you. Iran just changed the rules. For years, the world watched Iran build longer-range missiles, faster missiles, missiles that could dodge radar. The world took notes, sanctions were placed, talks were held, warnings were issued, and Iran kept building. But this time is different. This time, Iran did not just build a missile that goes farther or flies faster. It built a missile that multiplies. One missile leaves the ground. Hundreds of warheads reach the target. That is not an upgrade. That is a different kind of war. The missile is called Fateh 2, and the name alone tells you something. In Arabic and Farsi, Fateh means the conqueror. Iran did not name this weapon after a river or a mountain. It named it after the act of winning. That is intentional. That is a message wrapped inside a weapon. Here is what makes the Fateh 2 unlike anything Iran has publicly shown before. It carries a payload that separates midair. Before the missile reaches its destination, it releases multiple smaller warheads that scatter across a wide area. Each one lands at a different point. Each one hits a different target. So when defense systems try to intercept it, they are not chasing one threat. They are suddenly chasing dozens. And most defense systems in the region are not built to handle dozens at once. They are built for one at a time. Think about what that means for a military base. Think about what it means for a naval ship. Think about what it means for an airport or a power grid. One launch. And the whole map changes. Iran tested this system and put it on national television. That was not accidental. Countries do not show their weapons on state TV to inform their citizens. They show them to send a signal to their enemies. The broadcast was the threat. The missile was the proof. Now here is where the math becomes frightening. Modern air defense systems like the American Patriot or the Israeli Arrow are expensive. One Patriot interceptor missile costs around $3 to $4 million. One Arrow interceptor costs even more. So when Iran fires one Fateh 2 at $1 million and it splits into dozens of incoming targets, the defending country has to fire multiple interceptors to stop them all. That means Iran spends $1 million. The other side spends $10 million, $20 million, maybe more, just to stop a single launch. Do that math across 100 launches, and the defender runs out of interceptors before Iran runs out of missiles. That is not just a military problem, that is an economic weapon. And Iran knows it. The people who designed the Fateh 2 did not build it to win one battle. They built it to make the cost of fighting Iran too high for anyone to afford. Every $1 million Iran spends puts the other side in a position where they must spend 10 times more to respond. Over time, that gap breaks defense budgets. Over time, that gap breaks alliances. Over time, that gap wins wars without a single soldier crossing a border. This is the new shape of conflict. And Iran just showed the world exactly what it looks like. Picture a pomegranate, hard shell on the outside. The moment you break it open, hundreds of seeds burst out in every direction. You cannot put them back. You cannot stop them once they are moving. Now make that pomegranate travel at 5 times the speed of sound. Make each seed a small explosive warhead. And make the shell a ballistic missile launched from the other side of the country. That is the Fateh 2. That is the idea. And the simplicity of that idea is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Most missiles work in a straight line. They leave the ground, follow a path, and hit one point. Defense systems are built around that logic. Track the missile, calculate its path, fire an interceptor. Done. The whole science of air defense is based on the assumption that a missile is one object going to one place. The Fateh 2 breaks that assumption completely. The technical term for what the Fateh 2 carries is a multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle. The world knows it by its short name, MIRV. For decades, only the biggest military powers on Earth had MIRV technology. The United States had it, Russia had it, China had it. These were nuclear superpowers with billions of dollars and decades of research behind them. MIRV was their club, their exclusive weapon, something smaller nations were not supposed to have. Iran just walked into that club uninvited. Here's how it actually works inside the missile. The Fateh 2 launches like any other ballistic missile. It climbs high into the upper atmosphere, above where most radar systems are looking. At a certain point in its flight, the outer body of the missile releases the warhead carrier. That carrier holds multiple smaller warheads packed tightly together. Then, at the right moment, those warheads separate. Each one has its own small guidance system. Each one locks onto a different coordinate. Each one falls independently toward its own target. The original missile is gone. What is left is a cloud of fast-moving threats spreading across the sky at the same time. And here is the part that keeps defense analysts awake at night. The separation happens at the top of the missile's arc. That is the highest point. That is also the hardest point for radar to track cleanly. By the time ground-based systems register multiple incoming objects, those objects are already deep into their descent. They are moving fast, they are spread apart, and there are many of them. The window to intercept shrinks from minutes to seconds. The Fateh II also uses a maneuvering re-entry vehicle on its main warhead. This means even before the split, the missile itself can change direction mid-flight. It does not fly a fixed path. It moves, it adjusts, it dodges. Radar systems that predict where a missile is going based on its current path suddenly get the wrong answer. The missile goes somewhere else, and then it splits. Iran did not develop this technology overnight. Years of work went into the guidance systems alone. The ability to give each small warhead its own target and its own flight correction requires serious engineering. The kind of engineering that foreign governments have been trying to stop Iran from accessing for 2 decades, through sanctions, through export controls, through sabotage. None of it worked. The Fateh II exists. 1 missile, $1 million, multiple warheads, multiple targets, and a defense system that was never designed for this moment. The weapon is built. The question now is where it is pointed. Draw a circle. Put Tehran in the middle. Now stretch that circle outward 2,000 kilometers in every direction. Inside that circle, you will find United States military bases. You will find Israeli cities. You will find Saudi oil fields that power a third of the world's energy supply. You will find the busiest shipping lanes on the planet. You will find 50 million people who wake up every morning inside the range of the Fateh II. That circle is not a theory. That circle is a target map. Iran has never publicly said who this missile is for. It does not have to. Geography says everything. Start with Israel. The distance between Tehran and Tel Aviv is just under 1,700 kilometers. The Fateh II covers that distance in minutes. Israel has some of the most advanced air defense in the world. The Iron Dome, the David Sling, the Arrow system. Layers of protection built over decades with billions of dollars of American and Israeli investment. And every single one of those layers was designed to stop one missile at a time. The Fateh II does not come one at a time. It comes as a cloud, and clouds do not get stopped by systems built for single raindrops. In the 2024 Iranian strikes on Israel, Iran fired over 300 drones and missiles in a single night. Israel intercepted most of them. The world called it a success. But that night cost Israel and its allies over $1 billion in interceptor missiles alone, to stop 300 slow-moving threats. Now imagine the same night with Fateh IIs in the mix, each one splitting into dozens of warheads mid-air. The math does not just get harder, the math becomes impossible. Now move the circle toward the Persian Gulf. There are 5 American military bases within range, thousands of U.S. troops, ships carrying weapons, fuel, and personnel through the Strait of Hormuz every single day. The Strait of Hormuz is a choke point, a narrow strip of water where 20% of the world's oil passes through. Iran sits directly next to it. And a missile that can scatter warheads across a wide area is not just a threat to a military base, it is a threat to every ship trying to pass through that strait. Close the strait, and the global economy does not slow down. It stops. And then there is Saudi Arabia. The oil fields at Abqaiq and Khurais are the single most valuable piece of real estate on Earth. In 2019, drone strikes on those fields cut Saudi oil output in half overnight. Global oil prices jumped 14% in one day. That was with simple drones. A Fateh II strike on those fields would not cut output in half. It would end it. And the world would feel that within 72 hours at every gas station, every factory, every hospital running on backup power, Iran understands this. The Fateh II is not built for one enemy. It is built to hold an entire region hostage at the same time. That is the strategy behind the weapon. Not to start a war. To make starting a war against Iran the most expensive decision any country has ever made. To make every general look at that target map and then look at his budget and then put his pen down. Because the most powerful weapon is not the one that destroys the most. It is the one that makes the other side decide not to fight at all. And Iran just built that weapon. Silence is an answer. When a country test fires a missile and the most powerful nations on Earth respond with statements instead of action, with meetings instead of consequences, with concern instead of force, that silence tells the country with the missile everything it needs to know. It tells them to keep building. And that is exactly what Iran heard. The United States condemned the Fateh II. The European Union expressed deep concern. Israel called it a direct provocation. Those words were spoken into microphones, printed in newspapers, and forgotten by the next news cycle. Meanwhile, Iran rolled the missile out on a military parade truck, pointed cameras at it, and broadcast it to the world in high definition. One side talked, the other side showed. Defense analysts in Washington are now asking a question that has no comfortable answer. Can existing systems stop a MIRV-capable missile fired in large numbers? The honest answer from inside the Pentagon is not yet. The Patriot system is being upgraded. The Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System known as THAAD has some capability against this threat. But THAAD batteries are rare. There are not enough of them. And placing them everywhere Iran's missiles can reach would cost hundreds of billions of dollars and take years. Iran does not need years. Iran has the missile now. Israel is moving faster than anyone. The Arrow 3 system was specifically designed to intercept missiles high in the atmosphere before they can separate warheads. It has been tested. It has shown results. But one Arrow 3 interceptor costs around $2 million. Against a swarm of Fatah 2s, each splitting into dozens of warheads, the interceptors run out before the targets do. Israel knows this, which is why behind closed doors, the conversation has shifted from how do we stop the missile to how do we stop the missile from ever being launched. That conversation leads to one place: preemptive action. Striking Iran's missile storage sites, its launch infrastructure, its production facilities before a war begins. Israel has done this before. In April 2024, Israeli strikes hit targets inside Iran in a direct response to the drone and missile barrage. It was quiet. It was surgical. And it sent a message. But striking a missile on a launch pad is only possible if you know where the launch pad is. Iran has spent years hiding its military infrastructure underground, deep inside mountains, inside tunnels that conventional bombs cannot reach. The Fatah 2 does not sit on an open field waiting to be found. It disappears until the moment it is needed. Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states are now accelerating their own defense purchases. The arms deals being signed across the region right now are worth hundreds of billions of dollars. American defense companies are delivering faster. Radar systems are being updated. Regional military cooperation is growing. The Fatah 2 did not just change Iran's military position. It started a new arms race that will define the next decade of Middle East conflict. And in the middle of all of this, the missile just sits there, ready, waiting. The world is not watching Iran build a weapon anymore. The weapon is built. The world is now watching Iran decide when to use it. Every political crisis, every sanction, every military confrontation in the region now happens inside that shadow. Every decision made in Washington, Tel Aviv, Riyadh, and Brussels is now made with one question underneath it. What happens if Iran fires first? That question did not exist 5 years ago. It exists today, and the Fatah 2 is the reason why.